Another guest request, Hannah.
Right.
Okay.
We made it.
Oh, we've got here.
I
Yes.
worked it out. Excellent. Took me a little while, but I haven't used
Oh,
this stream app before.
this is my first time. I only did a brief test about 5 minutes before 3, and so this is my first time using it as well. So thank you for getting
Excellent.
through and being able to join.
Very good.
It's so good to have you to have a chat with. I don't think I've ever really had a good chat with you before. I remember meeting you guys once up in Whangarei at the tavern. You guys were filming there, I believe. I was filming there as well at Torwai Tavern. That was it. For it was a Counterspin media tour of some sort, I
Yeah.
think. Was it?
Yeah, that's part of the Let's Not Forget tour.
That's it. Yes, that's the one. Oh, awesome. Well, it's good to chat with you properly today. So thank you for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
So, yes, this Fire and Fury documentary, what an interesting eye-opener. Very, very interesting. Very one-sided, very funny narrative going on. What were your initial thoughts when you first saw this documentary?
I thought it was great. I just think it's such a testament to everybody in the freedom movement. They've obviously got so many amazing people to pick from. And, they said they had an extensive list and they kind of had to narrow it down. So, they picked a handful of people and groups to kind of target.
Yeah.
And it just shows that the truth is strong. And if they're going to invest, 150 plus thousand into a 60-minute one-sided hit piece, like you say, then they're running scared. And it was a fizzle and flop from our point of view, but it was great advertising because we don't have an advertising budget. And hey, they've just exposed not only Counterspin but all the other people to new ideas, and to most people who still have a rational functioning brain will just think, well, I'll go and see what these guys are saying for themselves, and yeah, they'll check it out and they'll make up their own mind.
It's certainly a conversation generator, isn't it? Which isn't a bad thing entirely. It gets people talking about what's going on, and certainly if they watch it with their own eyes, they will see the extreme tactics that they seem to have used to portray everyone in a very negative light. And I noticed at one point, which I wanted to bring up to you, at one point in the documentary, I saw, was it your face that popped up, and they plastered your face next to a News Hub article titled "Authorities Seize 700 Kilos of Drugs in Record-Breaking New Zealand Cocaine Bust," which was an article from March this year. And I sort of thought, well, I read the article and I couldn't see any connection between you and the article. Is there a connection?
Oh, I completely missed that. I have no idea. Yeah, so there was an article they put up that was, no, I have to go back and watch it and see exactly what that article was, because I've got no idea.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm certainly not. I've never been involved in a drug bust or anything. So
yeah, but it certainly implied that you had something to do with it. So basically, it was a cutout of your face.
Maybe they got me mixed up with Clark Gayford. Who knows?
I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing. And they also mentioned on there that you describe yourself as an anti-feminist and a patriot. Is this a correct sort of description of you, would you say?
Yeah, I've said that publicly. I stand by that. That's my own self-description for myself. So I think they did great.
Awesome.
It's exactly who I am, exactly what I stand for. And they took another great quote where I said it's, we're coming into tyranny and it's going to be a battle between freedom and slavery. And that's exactly what we're facing.
Yes. So I caught that quote that you made about slavery versus freedom. Are you able to elaborate a bit more about what that comment means?
Well, it means that what's happening on a bigger picture is they're creating societies, particularly in the West, that are corrupted by Marxist or, far left-wing ideology that is bringing societal cohesion into question, and people are losing a sense of their moral fibre. And the more immorality you have in a society, the more easy it is for the state to increase power and seize control. And that's what we're seeing now with, Big Brother surveillance and cahoots with big corporations. You're seeing a state overreach with their whole COVID-19 legislation. And people are just standing by, letting it happen. They are not standing up, recognising that the state is completely out of bounds and has gone too far, and they're not saying no, which if people had a stronger sense of morality, then this wouldn't be allowed to happen, because the more individual responsibility each person takes for their own action, and the more they recognise that it's about doing no harm to any other human being, and we don't have a right to tell other people what they put in their body. We certainly don't have a right to mandate or force people to take a vaccine just to survive. So, it's. I mean, it doesn't take much to see that we are in a slave system without, individual freedoms anymore.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's a good way to put it. There was something else that I noticed in there where they made a lot of references, or a few references to you guys regarding neo-Nazism, far-right activism. What's your response to that?
Well, firstly, what is far right? Like, what does that even mean? Where's the centre? We're neither left nor right. We are calling out right and wrong, and we're doing the right thing. It is wrong to force people to take an experimental serum that is in fact a bioweapon that many people are having adverse reactions from. And it's just a mainstream media tactic. If anyone's been following, American politics for the last 5 or 10 years, they did the same to people over there. This whole neo-Nazi thing is just simply a deflection, and it's a projection. Everything that the globalists are doing, they are the ones who are the fascists. They are the ones who are taking away people's freedoms. They are not allowing people choice anymore. So, what can I say? It's just a smear tactic that, we're friends with people from all different races, colours, creeds. We don't judge people on the colour of their skin. We judge people on the content of their character. And, people who like to say that they just basically, it's an easy way not to engage in any meaningful discussion, and that's all that we're doing, is we're having meaningful discussions with voices that have been censored from mainstream, and we're allowing people to make their own choices about what they choose to believe and choose to do.
Yeah, no, well said. Hey, we spoke to a lady in Canada called Judy Martins a couple of days ago, and she let us know about the C11, C12 bills that are being passed in Congress over in Canada at the moment, putting a halt, which could potentially put a halt to a lot of live streaming platforms like yours and mine. Do you think something like that will happen in New Zealand soon?
Yeah, so they are, for example, already stopping people with extra email addresses from receiving our emails. I think, the bill that, or not the bill, the agreement that big tech companies have made here in New Zealand to stop hate speech is probably where that's heading. I think, they've already got massive censorship on big tech. We've already been taken off Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. They're heavily shadow banning our Facebook account. They've already taken down our personal Facebook accounts in the past. So what the next step will be, I think, I'm not a big tech person, but is that they will start stopping access to certain websites or IP addresses, or, that's how they'll kind of get around that.
Do you know if that's already happening in New Zealand at all? Are we already being censored on some websites? Are there websites that the rest of the world can access that New Zealand can't? Do you know?
Well, yeah, I think if you use a VPN, that's how you can kind of get around it. But I'm not sure specifically. I know with our website, we certainly tried hard to make sure that, it couldn't easily be taken down, because people who tell the truth, if they use certain platforms, they can easily be taken down because those providers are working with the globalists, and they can be taken down. Like I say, I'm not a massive detailed tech person, so I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but certainly they want to stop the flow of information, right? They don't want people to get access to the truth, and if you're outside of their accredited media, then they're definitely going to do all they can to shut you down.
Yeah. Do you feel like the things they're putting out over the mainstream media, like the documentary and other things that have been out there, do you think that is just sort of adding fire to the flame for the popularity of the live streams that are getting out?
Yeah, I think at this point there's only, and this is, I think, according to an AUT study, 45% of New Zealanders that still have trust in the mainstream media. So they're already, on the back foot. And that's their own kind of polls, I suppose you could say. I mean, if maybe it's more, who knows, but people are definitely seeking out other sources of information. And yeah, like I said at the start, I think it's just going to push people to look at, all the people that were mentioned in the documentary, which is good because people have to make up their own mind. We can't have the government who's allocating taxpayer money to these media companies dictating what the narrative is. And I mean, we all know what Jacinda Ardern says, that she's a single source of truth and that if people want the information, they should only kind of go to government websites and to her. Well, I mean, yeah, anyway, people are waking up to that is all I can say.
Yeah, it is good to see. I've noticed a few people in my comments section who seem to be sort of just slowly just waking up a little bit, which is it makes my heart flutter. It really does. So you guys put out a live stream. Sorry, it wasn't last night, it was the night before. Now I tried to tune into this, but unfortunately I had some big internet issues and it just kept cutting out, and I gave up in the end. And I went to watch it again and then saw that it was 3 hours long. So I actually haven't had the time to catch up on that. Are you able to share any of the sort of main points that were shared? Because I know you spoke to Carleen and you spoke to a few others. Was there anything?
It was really good. We reached out to everybody who featured in the documentary because we wanted to have a roundtable kind of discussion and response, and to do it in a timely manner, because we don't want to just ignore this and pretend like it didn't happen. It's really important that we hit back, because people need to. I mean, they obviously didn't invite any of us to put forward our own comment on the documentary, but we need to give people access to our comments and what our ideas are, and break it down in an intellectual manner, so that it's an information war. It's a war of ideas. So they put all their ideas forward. We rebutted it basically in 3 hours. It went really fast. We probably could have easily done another hour. So we had Damien Dement, Carleen Heriora, Amy Benjamin, and Cole Chapman. Voices for Freedom and Chantal Baker declined the invitation, but we just went ahead anyway, and we basically just broke it down. We played parts of the documentary. People can go back and watch it on band.video, where our channel is Counterspin Media, or they can go to our website, counterspinmedia.com. We have got the replay up there. It's got better audio because there was a bit of a crackle with the audio with the replay of the documentary. Yeah, so we just broke it down and just point by point basically destroyed their narrative. It was great.
Oh, that's really awesome to hear. And I see that there's actually a lot of people at the moment picking apart the Prelude article as well as the documentary that they've put out. And there's just so many concerns with it. One of my main concerns was like you just said, they didn't actually reach out to anybody that they involved in this documentary for their side of the story or for further context of the comments. So that was going to be my next question, but you've already answered it. They did not reach out to Counterspin Media at all.
No, and that goes against all broadcasting standards. They're supposed to, as journalists, get both sides of the story and give everybody a fair say and let the audience make up their own mind. But they definitely had an agenda. The dark tone that they set, the music, it was all to pull on people's emotions and get an emotional response. And who knows? Maybe they're setting the scene for a false flag or some sort of future event that they're going to blame on anti-vaxxers or anti-maskers or truthers, because they already had Dr. Paul Buchanan come out. When the schools were having those bomb threats over the phone, he came out on Radio New Zealand and actually said that he's got no proof for it, but he believes that it was part of the anti-vax movement who'd used a VPN to make it look like the calls were coming in from overseas to set up these false bomb threats at the schools when the term went back. So they're kind of seeding all these doubts in the mainstream to question anyone who talks about freedom. They're trying to associate the word freedom with Nazism or neo-Nazism, far right. But as you know, and as everyone knows who went to Wellington, I didn't see a single Nazi. All those people were just average Kiwis who were just really unhappy with the mandates, the coercion of vaccines, the government overreach, the destruction of businesses, the destruction of health. So many people now, they just need to go to Linda Wharton at the New Zealand Health Forum or talk to NZDSOS to actually see how many people are coming out with adverse reactions after they've had this jab, and how many deaths there've been. And the mainstream media is a big part of the problem, because they're just not reporting on what's going on. There's an excess mortality rate now. We're talking to funeral directors and ambulance officers, and they're all saying that they are just having, increase in death. There's a lot of myocarditis, pericarditis, unexplained incidences, young people. Apparently there's been 4 or 5 children that have passed away in the last few weeks. potentially linked to this jab. So, yeah, what can I say?
You can say quite a lot, actually, and I do really appreciate your comments, so thank you. What are your thoughts on the timing of this documentary?
Well, it's interesting because there has been a big rise in interest in the local body elections. We recently had the nominations close, and I think they're really worried. I think they're really worried that average Kiwis are willing to put their hand up and actually get involved in local body elections, and maybe it's because of that, and maybe it's also because of this big event that the Freedom Rights Coalition has got planned next Tuesday down in Wellington, where they are going to hold like a kind of trial of sorts, of people's court, to see and lay out the evidence and give the people the opportunity to be part of the jury. That's what I mean. Like, I just hope they're not laying the foundation for what they will then call a January 6th event, which some of them were already saying Wellington was when we were down there at the beginning of the year. They're trying to say that it was some sort of insurrection, and anybody that was there knows that it was peaceful, it was loving. Everyone was looking after each other. You didn't have to want for anything, and it was actually the police that initiated the force and the brutality against the people. They just completely destroyed the Freedom Village. And then, there was fires lit, which those were obviously done by very shady characters. And a lot of the violence at the end was perpetrated by people who hadn't been there prior, and people hadn't seen them before. So, there's a lot of questions around exactly what was going on there. Just like with January 6th, there's a lot of questions around that too.
Yeah. Sorry, could you just catch me up? What's the January 6th thing?
Oh, it's the thing where there was a Trump rally going on up the road, and then a whole lot of people stormed the Capitol. And so they're trying to say that that was a whole lot of Trump supporters that, But if you look into it, there's FBI connections and there's all sorts of shenanigans that have gone on. So there are investigations going on into that. So the truth will come out about that as well. But it's a way that they can kind of tar everybody with the same brush and kind of try and insinuate that all these freedom lovers are somehow violent and somehow, they're going to stage some sort of coup, essentially.
So if we're going to judge the whole freedom movement based on a few bad apples, does that mean we should judge the entire police force on the few that were... I'm sure you can finish that sentence.
It's like anything. Everywhere around the world, there's organisations that have good people in them and bad people in them. And, you certainly cannot judge a whole group or a whole organisation by one people. You should always judge people on the individual character and their individual merits. And that's what we always say. People will accuse us of being controlled opposition, or, other groups of being controlled opposition. Okay, so what are you basing that on? Okay, have a look at the work that we've done for the last year. Have a look at our actions. And even if you think we're controlled opposition, then, just look at the information. You don't have to like us personally. You don't even have to agree with us 100% on everything, but just look at the facts that we're putting out, the evidence that we're putting out, and dispute that. And if we're wrong, show us, bring us evidence, and we'll have a conversation. Otherwise, just research eclectically, go to all different sorts of groups, and just find the truth out for yourself and figure out what your purpose is and how you are going to help make a difference in this world, whatever that is. I mean, not everybody's going to do what we're doing. Not everybody's going to want to put their face out there. That's fine. But every single person has a part to play. And all I can say is trust yourself. You've got to go within. A big part of this whole awakening process is not only exposing the lies and corruption out in the world, but we've all got to look what's inside our heart, what's inside our mind, because it is a war on the mind. And if we can, align with truth, beauty and freedom, and actually, have a solid moral foundation, then I think that's a good start. And that's probably half the reason why the world is the way it is, because people don't know which way is up anymore, and that the cabal or the deep state, they've flipped everything. So good is bad and bad is good. So I don't know. I've kind of gone off a bit. I've gone off topic a little bit. But
you're fine. You're fine. Now I'm aware you have another commitment to get to very shortly, so I'll try and wrap this up. I've just got a couple more questions, if that's okay. You mentioned before, near the beginning of this chat, that the cost of making that documentary was around, did you say 100K?
Yeah, I think it was about 150,000 or maybe a little bit more. I think actually Staff Circuit, which is their investigative unit, was given allocated 343 odd thousand from the Journalist Fund. So, and that was for 90 minutes, and the documentary was only 60 minutes. So maybe they've got a bit more money up their sleeve, and they've got some more hard-hitting documentaries to release.
So yesterday, Chantel and Leighton put up a live stream where Leighton Baker mentioned the cost of making that documentary was $420,000. So I was just wondering where that information came from, so that maybe it can be confirmed, or is it just speculation?
So if you go to New Zealand On Air and the what are they calling it? It's the Journalist Fund. That's where I looked. It said 343,000 was given to Staff Circuit, and I think it was Sean Plunkett that may have said that it was between 160 and 190,000. I'm not sure where Leighton got his figure from, so I double checked that. And yeah, that I saw 343,000. So I don't know if they spent it all on that one documentary or not.
I'll flick a message through to him this afternoon and see if he's able to confirm his source for that. It would be nice to know the exact amount that was spent on that, because Jesus Christ, I mean, that was our taxpayer money. It's ridiculous.
I'd love to see the breakdown of it too, because they actually got a lot of footage from us, of course. You know, they took, I don't know, so they kind of, I'm just done something with my phone, so I kind of lost you. But yeah, so they basically took the freedom fighters, freedom movement's own footage, so kind of cost them too much in terms of content creation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they've just taken all these clips that they've made, or other people have made, and they've just sort of copy pasted it all together and made the show sort of like a it kind of reminded me of like a horror thriller type movie, where they use the dark music and they add those foggy filters and just the dark light and the dark tone of voice to really portray what they're trying to say in their narrative. But I just had one last question, and you mentioned about TFRC holding a people's court. Now, I have reached out to TFRC a couple of times to see if I can get someone to come and have a chat to me about that, because I'm not really sure what that entails. Do you know what that would look like?
I'm not sure of the details, because we're trying to get the details as well. But from what I understand, they are meeting, and there will be a march, and then outside Parliament they'll be having some sort of court with, I think they're having experts from, our side to present the facts and evidence. And then I think they're hoping to give the documents to Parliament. So I don't know exactly yet how it's going to look myself, but it'll be very interesting, just even in terms of an information exercise, to put information out there to the public that they may have not come across before, because of course mainstream media is, again, not putting on experts that have a counter narrative to the mainstream. And I think that's probably the biggest criticism I have of this documentary, is that, if they are trying to discredit or debunk what people in our movement are saying, why didn't they actually talk to the experts, talk to people that have credibility, the doctors, the scientists, or even, people like Liz Gunn? These are people who have credibility in the mainstream kind of eyes, but they just decided to shoot the messenger. I mean, I'm not an expert on anything. I don't have, I'm not a doctor or a scientist myself, so I don't speak with that authority in terms of, how they put up their Michael Bakers or their Sean Hendleys or anything like that. But we obviously, like you do, speak to experts, and we research international experts who are presenting a different scientific finding. And those are the people that Paula Penfold should have been speaking with, just to see what exactly are the facts. But of course, it was never about the facts. It was just about trying to defame somebody's character, smear our reputation, kind of destroy the messenger, so that people don't actually look at the people who are coming onto our platform and providing a totally different narrative.
Yeah, amazingly put. Thank you so much, Hannah. Well, I'll let you get off to your other commitment, because, time is very precious, so I'll let you go and get onto that. If Kelvin is interested, I'd still love to have a chat with him. If he's free at some stage, just flick me a message. That'd be great.
Awesome. Cool.
Hannah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks to your audience for watching.
Ka pai. Ka kite anō.
See you later. Bye.
Oh, well, that was awesome hearing from Hannah about, her take on the information that was used in the documentary from Counterspin Media. And she made some really good points there. So thank you, whānau, for tuning in. Keep an eye on the page. We will be speaking to more people about this. Ngā mihi nui, ka kite.